ahead. Good evening, everyone. The 568th meeting of the Planning Board of the Village of Depew will come to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Member Soha.
Here.
Member Matuzak.
Here.
Member Spencer. And Chairman Maciejewski.
Here. Could everyone please rise for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Notification of emergency exits.
The emergency exits are located to my left and to the rear of the room. In the event of an alarm or emergency, please move in an orderly fashion to the exits and evacuate the building.
Thank you. So we have 6 items on the agenda for tonight. Just a little housekeeping rules. For each project, there will be an opportunity for public questions and comments. Please hold your questions and comments until that time. If you do have questions or comments, please approach the podium, and for the record, state your name and address, please. Thank you. So the first item on the agenda tonight is for the property located at 683 Dick Road. Could we have the legal notice, please?
Please take notice that the Village of Depew Planning Board will hold a hearing on Thursday, March 6th at 7 p.m. Pre-board meeting begins at 6:30 in the conference room in the council chambers of the Municipal Building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, to consider the application for submission by Samer Al-Rabi for the property located at 683 Dick Road, Depew, New York, 14043. The following matters to be reviewed. They are requesting the following: a special use permit to establish a vape shop. Any and all persons interested in such application will be heard at this time.
Okay, who's here representing the project? Sir, if you could come forward to the podium, please. State your name and your relationship to the project.
My name is Samir Al-Harbi. I own Always Smoke Shop on 683 Dick Road, and me and my nephew used to own the one next to it. We were partners, but we moved next door, and then for the previous one, we're gonna do it as a convenience shop. It used to be Car's Deli. We're gonna turn it into a lottery, and then we're just gonna move literally 2 feet away to 683 Dick Road.
Sir, are you the owner of the property?
No,
You are not the owner of the property.
not the owner of the property.
Okay. I know we've discussed a couple things, and I know like Don's been working with you with the handicap parking that needs to be addressed. And then I guess Don will have to address the owner of the property about cleaning up the items around the outside.
Yep.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Also, dumpster enclosure, move the dumpster from where it is now. We're gonna ask the owner of the property, move it to the opposite side, behind the striped handicap accessible spot, so that it's still open to the truck, but it's out of the parking spaces and out of public view.
All right.
Hey, Donnie, do you want me to give him a copy of the stuff I gave you?
Please, if you have one.
There you go. That explains it right there. That's all, we're recommending you put that. Be aware that there is a telephone utility pole here, there's a telephone right there, so I recommend 2 feet, 1 foot inside of that, so you got the space for your phone, park space, and then come across there. So if you put your dumpster back here, you still got access for a truck to come in and stuff that out. And there's nobody there. If you have questions, you can talk about it.
We'll talk about it during the permitting process.
All right.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Legal, Sam?
Just part of our special use permit application is inquiries about the sign. I saw you reference the pre-existing sign. There's no plans to enlarge that or anything like
No.
that, right?
No,
Okay,
no.
great.
We just literally just moved 2 feet away, that's it.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Code enforcement, Don?
Nope, I've already discussed everything I need to with him, and he's aware now, obviously, of the parking, so I'm good on my end.
Engineering, Terry?
No, good, we've got the same thing going on right here, got the sketch form there to follow, so it should be good.
Sweet. Fire, Chief?
Nope, sir.
Okay. Is there any public concerns or comments? Yes. Sir, would you come up to the podium, state your name for the record, please?
If you want, just stand back a little bit so we can roll the space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Paul Sprata, 58 Argus Drive. On this Dick Road vape shop, he doesn't own the building, but are you leasing the building? Is what I want to know, and for how long?
Answer?
Yes.
Yeah, we're leasing it for, it's on the lease, we're leasing it for 3 to 4 years, I'm not sure.
And do you live in the village?
On Depew,
Yes,
I live in Cheektowaga.
but not in Depew.
No, I don't live in Depew.
That really has no pertaining to the application.
Okay, and how long have you lived at your present residence?
Cheektowaga, almost 3 years.
Okay. The reason I'm asking, there's another one with a vape shop to open. They're popping up like Tim Hortons. And, in this day and age, we're trying to curtail smoking. And I'm looking for the health of everybody, children especially.
There is relegations right now. We really existed there for 3 years, but we're literally just moving 2 feet away from it. That's all it is to it. And we abide with the relegations of the OCM, health department, and everything.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
It's a 3-year lease according to your agreement here.
3 years.
So you got 3 years, yep.
Any other public concerns or comments? With that, a motion is in order.
I, Member Fedowitz, make the motion to recommend to the village board to accept the site plan submitted with the following stipulations: dumpster positioning, handicap parking, and general housekeeping of the lot.
I think the
Dumpster
motion,
enclosure.
the motion needs to be to approve the special use permit.
I'm sorry, to approve the special use permit. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Is there a second?
I second it.
On a motion by Member Federowicz, seconded by Member Matuzak, to make a recommendation to the village board to grant a special use permit. We have a roll call vote, please.
Member Soha?
Yes.
Member Matuzak?
Yes.
Member Federowicz?
Yes.
And Chairman Maciejewski?
Yes. 4-4, the motion is carried. Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the second item on the agenda is for the property located at 5460 Transit Road. Could we have the legal notice, please?
Please take notice that the Village of Depew Planning Board will hold a hearing on Thursday, March 6, 2025, at 7 p.m. Pre-board meeting begins at 6:30 in the conference room in the council chambers of the Municipal Building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, to consider the application for submission by Galeb Al-Wasim for the property located at 5460 Transit Road, Depew, New York, 14043. The following matters to be reviewed. They are requesting the following: a special use permit to establish a business under the Exotic Smoke and Vape name. Any and all persons interested in such application will be heard at this time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to appear in front of you. My name is Charlie Gaughan, and I'm assisting Galeb Al-Wasim with opening the smoke shop. I know that there has been some history behind this smoke shop. However, those tenants are now gone. This new tenant has no affiliation whatsoever with the previous tenant, and he's worked extensively, as well as with myself and Tim Wilelko, the owner of the property, to make sure that everything there will be compliant with state and local laws. I've known Galeb for some time. I've represented his smoke shop, and he has never been convicted of any crime of selling cannabis. He's been raided before by OCM, and he was found to be completely compliant with New York State law. As a result, I'm hoping that you can approve his application and that he can be allowed to open a smoke shop there. Thank you.
Okay. Are you or is the property owner planning on doing any renovations to the structure or the property itself?
Other than interior design changes, no.
Okay. Nothing with the parking lot?
Nothing at this time is planned, Your sir.
Okay. I don't, same thing, we'll have to
So
address?
in this particular case, they do have to install an ADA parking spot.
Right.
So I did speak with Tim today, and he actually came in with several different plans, but they're gonna move the parking spaces to the outside, possibly remove the sign to get an extra space in there, and put an accessible handicap spot directly across where the ramp is. He is planning on putting on the other side of the building along Terrace, a sidewalk with a ramp also, so they could get handicapped parking spaces on that side also. So that's is something that we have discussed.
Okay. Questions from the board? Legal, Sam?
Nothing for me?
Code enforcement, Don?
Just what we discussed.
Okay. Engineering, Terry?
Donnie, did you say that he's gonna, different than what that showed on that plan I gave you?
He's got several different plans, but I did explain to him that he does have to put at least one handicap accessible spot across from the door there
Okay.
for now, but he does have plans on putting more, pushing that green space out a little bit, put an actual turnaround there so that as they pull up facing Transit Road, that they'll be able to back
Okay,
and drive out.
Okay.
So,
all right, I'm good with that. Okay.
That's it, Terry?
Yep.
Chief, anything for fire?
no, Mr. Chairman.
Were you going to discuss the difference between, we talked about vape and smoke shops as compared to dispensaries, and you had mentioned you were going to, there was some concern, maybe you need a little clarification?
Yes, so, again, this is a vape shop. It is not a dispensary. The dispensary is like Herbal IQ, which is up on Transit Road, up in the old Town and Country Plaza right now. They are both regulated by the state. The regulations for dispensary are also regulated by the Village of Depew. They are a lot stricter than the vape shop. So a vape shop is not allowed to dispense cannabis. So just to clear that up in case anybody had any questions. Okay? Any public concerns or comments? Paul?
Again, Paul Sprouter, 58 Argus Drive. This, on tonight's agenda, this is the second vape shop that we're voting on, or you are voting on. How many do we have in the village now?
These are
Existing?
6 or 7. But the two, that was including the 2 spaces. So to be clear, they're putting one back in the same space that one just vacated several months back. The other one is an existing one that's just moving over one tenant space in the same building. We're not increasing the amount of smoke shops, just different owners. They unfortunately have to go through the special use permit now in order to put one in, so.
All right. As I said in a previous case, my concern is the health of our younger citizens. This country should be downsizing smoking for, especially for the younger generation.
I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Paul, but there are a lot of regulations as far as how far they have to be from schools, playgrounds, places children congregate, and religious places of worship, which in neither case, they're well beyond the
Okay.
areas.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public concerns or comments?
May I briefly respond to Paul?
Sure.
Paul, I want you to know that I wouldn't work with the shop if they ever had an underage violation. I leave their role for that. So I want you to rest assured that this shop is not going to be.
Thank you. With that, a motion would be in order.
I, Member Matuzak, make a motion, make a recommendation to the village board to recommend the application for the special use permit with the following stipulation, that they must have an ADA accessible handicap parking spot.
Just, what do you want the application to approve?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, yeah.
To approve the
To
special
approve,
use
a
permit.
recommendation to approve. Missed that word, sorry.
So you and Dave, I gotta be on tonight.
That sounds good.
Right, it's legal.
There a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by member Matuzak, second by member Fedorowicz to make a recommendation to the village board to approve the special use permit. We have a roll call vote, please.
Member Soha?
Yes.
Member Matuzak?
Yes.
Member Federowicz?
Yes.
And Chairman Maciejewski.
Yes, 4-4, motion's carried. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, the third item on the agenda is for the property located at 4170 Broadway. Could we have the legal notice, please?
Please take notice that the Village of Depew Planning Board will hold a meeting on Thursday, March 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Pre-board meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. in conference room in the council chambers of the Municipal Building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, to consider the application for submission by Richard Sherwood on behalf of Philip Antonicelli and Michael Antonicelli for property located at 4170 Broadway, Depew, New York. The following matters to be reviewed. They are requesting the following: to subdivide the current lot with 2 buildings into 2 lots to allow each owner to take sole title to 1 lot with 1 building. The current zoning is M1 Light Industry District.
Thank you. So for the
Good evening,
record,
board
could you just
members.
State your name and
Yes,
relationship. to the
Richard Sherwood. I'm the attorney for Michael and Philip Antonicelli. Unfortunately, they had both planned vacations out of the area at this time of the year, and that's the reason they aren't present. In any event, they currently own the property jointly, and one of the parties uses one of the buildings for his masonry business, and the other building is used by the other brother for storage of vehicles and working on vehicles. So the property is not going to change. What they want to do is, rather than owning the one parcel in joint names, they want each to own one of the buildings. And to do that, of course, we'd have to subdivide the property. So the application is basically seeking approval to subdivide the parcel into 2 separate parcels. The buildings remain as they are, the uses remain as they are. Any questions specifically on that?
It's, pretty cut and dry.
It is, I think, yes.
Everything's staying the same.
It's
just
correct.
Subdividing the lot.
Correct.
Any questions from the board on this? Sam, you got any legal?
Just, I'm sure you looked at this, but no non-conforming use is going to be created by the split, correct?
No, we've, looked at the required side yard setbacks, and we've had the surveyor plot the lots such that there is compliance with the code with respect to those side yard setbacks. And there are no other violations that would occur as a result of the division of the property.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Code enforcement, Don?
Okay, so one of the questions raised by Terry here is shared utilities, underground sanitary sewers, storm sewers, anything like that. If they're shared, they would need a shared use agreement to be written up for it to be lawful.
Okay.
And so that's something that we could address on that end, but that is
Okay.
something that will have to be taken care of in the
I'll
event.
make a note of that then.
They're not separated. The only other thing that I'm going to require is I need a full survey for each property after they're split.
Okay. I will get those to you.
That it, Don?
That's it for me.
That was it? Okay.
Terry?
Yeah, this is kind of what I can just get a copy of this. And do this.
Thank you.
Utilities there, just so we've run into this before, different things we've done with splitting parcels up, and different things we've done, and it can be a problem when you sell the property between the owners. I know they're related right now, but if one decides to sell it to somebody outside their circle,
Understood.
they might have some issues with who owns what and who's gonna fix it if it breaks down. I
Understood.
don't know what your utilities are there, but you might want to investigate that a
Okay.
little bit.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything from the fire department, chief?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Any public concerns or comments? Okay, with that, a motion is in order.
I'd like to make a motion. I, Member Soha, make a motion to make a recommendation to the village board to accept the submission of separating the parcel into 2, with the following stipulation that the drainage and what have you has to be agreed upon by both owners, so that in the event of the future that the property sold, there's no conflict with who is responsible.
Is there a second?
I second.
On a motion by member Soha, seconded by member Fedorowicz, to make a recommendation to the village board to okay the combining of the lots. Could we have a roll call vote, please? I'm sorry, division of the lots.
Member Soha?
Yes.
Member Matuzak?
Yes.
Member Fedorowicz?
Yes.
And Chairman Maciejewski?
Yes, 4-4, motion's carried. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Shirley.
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is for the property located at 4685 Broadway. There are two submittals for this property. They are both going to have to be brought up individually. So we'll do the first one, the first legal notice, please.
Please take notice that the Village of Depew Planning Board will hold a meeting on Thursday, March 6, 2025 at 7 p.m. Pre-board meeting begins at 6:30 in the conference room in the council chambers of the Municipal Building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, to consider the application for submission by Metzger Civil Engineering, PLLC, on behalf of Eric Strickland for property located at 4685 Broadway, Depew, New York. The following matters to be reviewed. They are requesting the following: to obtain a special use permit to operate an automotive repair shop in a C2 zone as per Chapter 260, subset 260-27, under the guidelines of Chapter 260, subset 260-33N.
Thank you. And again, this first one is for the special use permit for the auto repair shop. Mr. Metzger, if you could just for the record state your name and your relationship to the project, please.
Good evening. Yes, my name is Michael Metzger with Metzger Civil Engineering, 8245 Sheridan Drive, Williamsville, New York. And with me tonight is my client, Mr. Eric Strickland. Thank you for the introduction. The property is 3/4 of an acre in size, and as mentioned, it's C2 zoning. And what we have there are two existing businesses that have operated there for successfully for several years. And we're here to seek a special use permit initially for Mr. Strickland's business, the automotive repair facility. Although there was no need for a formal site plan on the project, we put together a site layout plan just to help describe what's going on there, who operates which portions of the building and which portions of the site, and give you a general idea of the layout. We're not proposing any changes to the building, no changes to the utilities. They're all existing, no grading or any work having to do with earthwork. Not proposing any new signage other than what would be associated with the handicap parking space that we are adding to the site. The only item that would be new there would be a dumpster enclosure, which we've been asked to entertain, and we have shown on the site layout plan. I know there's been some recent concerns about lighting, and my client's actually done some things to address that. And if there are further concerns relating to that, we'll continue to work with the code enforcement officer on that. As far as the site is concerned, as I mentioned, 3/4 of an acre in size. And what we've delineated on here is the area that is to be utilized by Strickland Automotive. It's the vast majority of the building. And then No Limit Towing utilizes a portion of the west part of the building. Likewise with the site, I know I'm away from the microphone, I'll try to speak up a little bit. The vast majority of the site is utilized for Strickland Automotive. And then the smaller area on the west side and a little bit in the center is the portions that are used for No Limit Towing. It's pretty straightforward, but we're here to answer any questions that anyone might have.
I know there were some concerns, from the board members about some general housekeeping of the property. The back parking lot, which is not going to be part of the impound, correct?
That's correct.
Some of the vehicles that are in there, what is the plan for those vehicles?
We are waiting for some of the customers to pick them up, and people take their plates off while they're waiting to junk them and stuff like that and get titles. That's the only reason why some of those are there. And one of the vehicles back there is my own.
The fencing on that berm there, that looks like it's going to need to have to be replaced, so that's probably going to be one of the stipulations. It's in pretty rough shape. I know there's some issues with some of the other areas, but that's for the second part. The truck with the tires on the west side of the building, the pickup truck with all the tires, isn't it? What's up with that?
That's actually a customer's that has a blown motor. Those tires are actually for the truck. They're not just scrap tires put in there, they're actually mounted and balanced on rims in there. It just kind of got put there when the snow came and it wasn't able to be moved yet.
Okay.
So we're not using it as storage or anything like that. It is a customer's vehicle.
Okay, yeah, because when you take a look at it with the snow all pushed up against it, it kind of looks like it's been there for a while, but of course, we've had a terrible winter too,
Yes,
so,
that's the reason why it's still there.
okay. Board members,
You said the vehicles in back, some of them that didn't have plates on them, they were waiting to be junked and they didn't have titles for them?
That's what the customer said. Actually, two of the cars, one of them is my son's, which he's gonna be taking to school with them. And then the other one is ours, which we use as a shop truck to push vehicles in that are dead and stuff like that. So, and then we've had a couple other vehicles that since have been removed out of there. I mean, we try to stay on the people to get their cars out of there, but I mean, you can only do so much without pushing them out into the street and having a bad name and getting the cops involved.
Maybe Eric, you could explain a little bit about the need for the title?
But you can't junk a vehicle if you don't
Right.
have ownership to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you need all the paperwork to do that, so.
any other questions from board members?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Eric, what are your hours of operation, the days of operation?
Our actual business hours are from 8 to 5. I'm usually there early in the morning. I usually get there around 6:30, 7 o'clock, especially in the wintertime to plow the lot and stuff like that.
Monday through Friday?
Yeah, we're there one Saturday a month.
Okay. Anything else from the board members? Legal, Sam?
Nothing for me on this one.
Code enforcement, Don?
Okay, so there's several issues needing to discuss. In the event that the other business isn't approved tonight, or they move on, you terminate this. In order to park vehicles back there, it would have to be blacked out. Okay, you're not allowed to have gravel driveways and things like that. And then, if or when that does get done, there are requirements that we have, which we could share with you. It's a specific type of manhole modification that you can make that's it's a sock type deal that you put inside there that does catch oil waste and sediment and stuff. And you have to have it cleaned out when you have your oil separator cleaned out. You know, and if they recommend more because of the amounts of stuff, then you'd have to follow the recommendation of the company that you bring in to clean the oil separator. I can provide you with the documentation for this. All right, so like I said, in the events, you're going to keep parking cars back, but that does have to be taken care of. Light-friendly skies, lights. So we've discussed the issue with the lights bothering the neighbors, and I was over there with the shield that you put on there, and it's not adequate. I'm going to recommend you take those lights down and either put completely shielded light to keep the light going into the neighbors' yards, or I believe it's called a light-friendly skylight, which cascades down. Your light's not supposed to cascade outside of your parking lot or your perimeter of your building or your property, right? Snow plowing in the wintertime. I lived on that street for 15, 16 years, and people before you always plowed, and they pushed it out in the street. And for years, we drove around that instead of down the street the way we're supposed to. So got to find a better way to police the snow onto the property itself and not, onto the actual road.
That's why I had it paved between the front lot and the back lot, and I push everything back there and
Okay.
stack it back there.
I just want to make sure that you're aware of that.
Yeah,
That
I
was,
understand. That's the main reason why we did that,
Okay.
because it's not fun to plow over grass.
The parking space that you had put together for the handicap parking, right? What we're going to recommend here, because this is directly in front of a bay and this is directly in front of the door, that you move it over and put the striping in front of the door, and you move the space over in front of the window so that it's not interfering with your business or with the front door if someone trying to get in there with accessibility problems.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what else we have on here. Same thing with that back parking lot, if you're gonna be parking vehicles back there. We recommend that you put that same type of, drain catch basin thing in the actual manholes back there, so we don't have an issue with, contaminants getting into our ground table water. Brian, the fire inspector, will be talking about tire storage and a corral in a moment. But that's going to be something else that we recommend. Other than that, I think I'm good.
Two questions.
Mr. Metzger, one thing we will need on there, what code enforcement is bringing up is showing the snow storage.
I do believe it doesn't show
Yeah,
it on
yeah,
there.
we did show the snow storage area up against the fence on the west side.
Okay.
Could I just take a quick look at the?
You can, we're going to provide you with.
Okay,
Yeah, I can give him this one right here.
Yep.
okay,
Terry's up, engineering?
Yeah, so,
thank you.
village engineer for your site here. So if you're going to this parking lot back here, there are some options. You can put the so-called soccer, just a drainage lane inlet protection system there. It's like a filter fabric, it's got a sock in there that's built into it also, collects oil and things like that. So if you do park cars here, it's a used car lot, whatever you park in that, nothing trip, you can do that. That's what I recommend there, if you don't want to get too crazy about it, but if you can modify that catch basin to a mini water separator.
Similar to the sketch you got here.
I don't know if you have enough drop in your structure here to get down where your pipe comes out here.
Right.
So I'm not sure the size, really, how much space you got. This could be, you could just take that out as long as you have something down here to protect the water from going back, so it overflows. It doesn't, so that's the system that's going to water separate. You still have to clean it out. You got to suck it out. You can hire people to do that. If you need contacts, let me know. You can do it that way also. So you have a couple options there for that, and for that site. And then, as we talked about, the handicap space parking out front there. You can look at that real quick. I know you had it in front of the garage door, which is probably unacceptable. So
We kind of just did that because that's how the lines were already in the parking lot, so we just
Yeah.
figured, but that's fine. When we
Yeah.
seal the driveway, we'll just move it
I
over.
get it, that it'd be great if you could do that, because it's a garage door, I know it's gonna park there obviously, but, by regulations and stuff like that. But you can probably sneak a 5-foot rather than 8-foot, being that your existing site, we're gonna accommodate best we can for you, we don't wanna make it too crazy here, but this would be your accessible walkway into your building here, your handicap spot here, then you can continue your parking over here, we wanna do that across there then.
Okay.
So pretty basic, the ADA specs and stuff like that, so it gives you an idea of where things are, and that's just a picture. That's no problem. And for the sign itself, just put it right above your lockbox there.
Okay.
You don't have to put anything in front of here, no parking, or no parking obviously here, no. You're fine, this will be fine, something like that.
Okay.
Any questions, you can talk to Donnie.
Just the one question about the discussion on the impound lot and the fact that it needs to be paved. Is that a village code?
That's a village code, yes.
Okay. Thanks. Just
Okay.
missed that one.
Sure.
Terry, anything else?
No, I'm good, yeah.
Okay. Chief, fire department?
Yeah, I know it's probably going between the two, 'cause the next one is about a no limit, but the tires, I'm assuming, scrap tires, I'm assuming are from Strip Auto,
Yes.
right? Okay, right now they're stored in the impound lot, and that's right up against, right behind the building, which is a little bit too close for my liking. Like I said, there's probably maybe, I don't know, I'm just guesstimating 40 to 50 back there. Like we talked, they're not easy to get rid of all the time. And nor is there a amount that you gotta build up and you gotta get rid of them, right? But I would like them moved away from the rear of the building, at least 20 feet away, maybe in their own fenced-in corral, no bigger than like 12 by 20. And the tires can't be stacked over the top of the fence line, for obviously, for the neighborhood, for aesthetically pleasing. But the tires, if those go up, they burn fast, they burn hot, and honestly, you're gonna start the vehicles that are, you got enough fire load there with the vehicles that are in the impound lot that are right behind your building, and I'd at least like to have a fighting chance to, and to save your building if we can, and your property. where if they're in a fenced-in corral area 20 feet away from the building, out in the middle of the park, or out someplace in the parking lot around no exposures, you know, if the tires go up, the tires go up. It's not gonna damage anything else, you know. So I would like to see that.
Okay.
And then just make sure that you explain that one, with the one truck with the tires in the rear, back of it, just make sure that we don't store any scrap tires in any vehicles, like in beds of trucks or anything like that, on the property, which it doesn't sound like there is right now.
No.
So,
No, the only time there's ever tires in it is if someone brings them in that way,
Right.
get them mounted up, that's it.
so, yeah, I mean, and honestly, I think that would be, I know it costs a little money to put that corral up, but I think in the long run, if it saves your business from burning down, it's worth it, probably, so.
We're actually showing a spot on a site plan behind where the dumpster is that already has two, it's in the corner of the fenced-in area. So it would not be difficult to finish that off, and it's much further than 20 feet from the building.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any public concerns and comments? Again, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address, please.
Paul Kemsky, 39 Humboldt. I'm right behind Strickland Automotive. First of all, I have no concerns with Strickland Automotive. Clean shop, clean operation. My problem is the cars that are brought in on the impound lot. They're brought in, some are fine, some have accidents. Some are all tore up. They're leaking all kinds of fluid. They're leaking antifreeze, which is a big, huge problem. Because there's no way that you can put you have to contain that antifreeze. And it has to be, the only way you can take antifreeze out of water, okay, is you gotta boil the water out of it. And then you have to find a DEC dump site to get rid of it, as long as it's not tainted. And what DEC considers tainted is when it has rust in it, or if it has metal particles in it. Now it has to go to a special dump. Now, there was times that I seen cars that they got them so jammed up in there. It's such a small area. I listened to the fire chief about fires, okay? The day an electric vehicle comes in there, there's big time problems. If the battery containment system is breached, it starts to leak out aluminum oxides. Big time problem. If it caught on fire because the systems on the electric vehicle didn't disconnect the batteries, okay, it starts to cook those batteries. 2 weeks from now, them batteries can start on fire. So I don't know how anybody's going to control that. The antifreeze, I'm afraid of. Now they talk about the drainage system. Anytime you come down our street on the corner of River and Humboldt, right where my driveway is, it starts to rain, the water gets to be at least a foot deep. The sewer system and the drainage system down there is almost null and void. Every time it rains, the Village of Depew Highway Department comes in and they have to pump the sewers. And then the drainage system goes down to where they're pumping the water. That all goes down into the fields. It's just not acceptable. So the only problem and the lights. I have cardboard in my windows. Now, no fault to Strickland Automotive. Again, like I said, I have no problem with those people. A new telephone pole was put in there. I lived on that street for 70 years. And for some ungodly reason, they put a new telephone pole, that pole was leaning there for 70 years, and they moved it 12 feet down the street. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when they put the light back up on top of it, I don't know if they didn't point it right or whatever, but if you come down there in the middle of the night, okay, when it's dark, it lights up the outside of the fence, the street, and the front of my house. Anybody's welcome to come over and stand on my porch. Everybody drives by, but nobody comes out of their cars. Get out of your car once, stand on my front porch. You're more than welcome to come in my house to see what I'm putting up with, okay? The lights are totally outrageous. I know he's trying to clean up the lot, okay? But as soon as they took them giant bushes out, it opened up the whole front. And the lights, there's one on the corner, there's one on the back, and the street light. It lights my house up. I don't even have to turn my lights on. I have all arched windows. Nobody makes blinds for arched windows on the front of my house. The lights are a big factor. The wrecked cars that come, an impound yard, when a car comes in there because the police department impounds a car, half the time they're not wrecked. But when he brings in wrecks, they're leaking everything. He talked about having that all paved back there. How are they going to keep the water that doesn't hit those drains that they're talking about to coming out in the street and add more water to the problem we have down there now? The parking lot, when it was originally put in, was supposed to act as a retention pond. If you look down in the drain there, that parking lot's supposed to hold water, and it doesn't. It's supposed to only have a 1-inch pipe there to feed the street. It never holds water. It's all in that corner. Now you want him to put water and oil separators in there? How are you gonna police that? How are you gonna know when they're full? And where are they gonna be drained to? I hope they ain't draining down to my house. Nobody says which way that drainage is going. And once the west side of the property is high and the east side of the property is low, where he's bringing in all those cars. And then when they have to get a car out, they have to pull 3-4 cars out if they got to get to the back one, or they're wedged in there pretty good.
Yep.
Okay? So if you got to get that car out of the back, you got to bring all those cars out to get at that one. Where are they going to park those cars? I hope not in that parking lot, because once that starts, it'll always be there. They bring out a car, they brought out wrecked cars and they stand on the street. There's the antifreeze. I got pictures of the antifreeze. Our neighborhood's changing. We have more and more children on the street because we're getting more and more younger people. We have no sidewalks down there. The corner is a blind corner. The fence is too far away from one side and too far away from the other. There's some kind, I don't know what it is. He can probably tell, I don't know. But they're too close to the corner. That's got to be addressed.
He's talking about line of sight, which will be addressed
Right,
when you put in
the new fence.
Okay. So, but the lights are my biggest concern.
Yes, and that,
Because
Paul,
they're up there and I'm down here.
okay, and Paul, you heard that earlier, that is going to be one of the stipulations.
Okay.
And again, this is a two-part, so this first part is for.
Well, I didn't know when I
Yeah,
should have
no,
came up.
and it will take into account your comments for when we do the second part. You don't have
Right.
to come back up again. But right now, we're strictly working on the automotive repair
Right.
business.
And I have no qualms with that. You won't see me come up there. They run a clean operation. It's the tow truck company. And it's those, and then there is a big concern. You can talk to the fire chief about the electric cars. Okay? There's a big concern about the antifreeze. And which way are those drains going to drain? If they drain back down into that parking lot, that's just a bigger problem there.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very
Paul.
much.
Any other concerns or comments? Paul, if you come up again, please.
Sorry. Are we on the first part of that Strickland, or?
We are on
second
the
part?
special use permit for the auto repair service,
Okay, not the,
not the impound.
okay, that's fine. I'll be back.
Is there any other public concerns or comments? Any other public concerns or comments? Okay, Terry, did you want to address anything with those comments about the runoff?
So, from an engineering side of things for that parking lot, I would recommend to have that surveyed out there to figure out exactly where that's going to in there, the pipes, the sizes and things like that. If that was truly meant to be a detention area, that can be mitigated to do that. But again, you might have other problems there, so I think that warrants further review as far as doing some more engineering on that site down there.
Well,
mitigate?
we had a topographic survey done, and we know that the site all drains down towards the back of the property, and it funnels into the catch basin system that's within the paved area. And we're not proposing any changes to any grades or drainage. There will be no added drainage. That's the existing patterns.
Right.
So we're not doing anything, we're not, adding anything. Like I mentioned, we're not proposing any changes to the site that would have any impact on the drainage. As far as, the water that accumulates at the intersection, it sounds like there, might be some issues unrelated to, my client's property with the municipal drainage system.
Well, the problem is if that parking lot is causing, if it was originally supposed to detain the water before releasing it to the system, which it wasn't designed properly, which is causing the flooding, it sounds like, down there.
Well, that's...
So again, I get that's municipality's probably problem you're saying now, but again, if it's something that has to be addressed within that parking area, it'll have to be looked at.
Well, again, we're not proposing any changes, and there's been an allegation made that parking lot was supposed to be a detention area. We're not aware of that. And whether it was or wasn't built the way it was supposed to be, that's got nothing to do with my client. He bought it in its present condition.
How many years have you been there?
I've been there 5 years, 6 years.
Oh, okay, you're pretty new then. Okay,
Right.
all right,
He did not build that parking lot.
okay, I get it.
But did you say you have a copy of that survey of the detention?
That was the basis of our drawing here, was the survey that we had done. And it clearly shows that everything drains to that.
Right,
to
I
that.
can see it does that.
So Terry, how hard would it be to modify the interior drain? It would just be basically putting a plug in with a smaller hole, wouldn't it?
You'd put a baffle, yeah, you just change the outlets in either the structure, you change the outlet structure.
You wouldn't have to physically take the structure apart, though, right? Just go in the bottom of it?
Depending on what kind of pipe's in there, but if it's a metal pipe, they can weld something onto that, a baffle onto it to restrict it more, to back it up.
I just want to make sure we're not reacting to something that's not a problem.
Well, it is a problem. I lived on that street before too, and the street basically fills up with water about a foot high in the corner, and it goes all the way down the street, tapers off because the street's pitched,
But that's not because of my client's
No,
thing.
but if it's something that he'd agree to do, if it's something cheap and easy, I mean, that would alleviate some of the stress from Mr. Kemsky in the street there. And also, by putting a sock in there, you'd alleviate the situation with any type of chemical spilling into there.
Yeah, I've talked to my client about doing something, one of the options that Terry was suggesting here for that, but I don't know if we're prepared to get involved in fixing the village's issue with their system not being able to take the water. Again, we're not doing anything to the site.
No, that's,
We're not changing
well,
anything.
it may be changed if during the other portion of this, if it's going to be blacktop back there, then the water's not basically migrating into the soils and leaching into the water table. It's going to be directed and pitched to that back parking lot, which means water will get there faster and more buildup.
That area in the back, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves because that's the other application, but that area is millings. And I'm sure anyone who has any familiarity with millings, once it's in there, it compacts to the point where it goes back to what it was before. I mean, millings are an asphalt.
Yes, but millings, water migrates through millings, it does. It's not compacted like a road.
When they're not compacted.
Yeah, well, even if it's compacted, you still, I mean, I have a concrete driveway at my house, and I also have a millings driveway on the other side. When it rains, water runs down my driveway, and the millings, it just disappears, goes into the ground. So millings is even compacted, still, water will migrate through.
They're still porous.
It can't.
Right, when not
Terry,
compacted. I agree. When they're-
Excuse me, I got a question. So is there a test they can do to that lot he's talking about to find out what kind of drainage?
As far as how the water drains out of there? Well, it just runs through right now, there's no baffle in there, so it just kind of runs through. And the one structure that's at the bottom of the, which is, I guess you're looking over here, there's a structure over here.
Yeah.
A drainage structure, so that's where it floods out to right here. It's a low spot. So it just dissipates so quickly from this parking lot and it floods in here, it doesn't get retained at all. So it just runs out and it floods right there. So the other issue is in this towing lot, not that we're there yet, if you do decide to pave that or mitigate that for containing sediments or contaminants and things like that, now you've got another system that's gonna be adding to the other one, which is gonna have more water going down there. So it's gotta be studied a little bit to understand what's going on there.
Can I make a recommendation? And I'll talk to the mayor about it, but if it's a simple fix that we could do to the bottom of the catch basin itself, would you be against us possibly putting in something, some type of a filter or something to slow that water down?
A restrictor or something? Yeah, I think it'd be worth it.
I will talk to powers that be about that. Because that helps the corner so that it doesn't
How often
flood the street.
does that flood there?
Every time we have a heavy rain, it
Heavy
floods.
rains, it always backs out and then,
To the point where Paul's right, they have to bring a pump in and pump the water out of that, and just to pump right into my backyard.
is that structure, there's a structure on the corner there, right? A catch basin down there?
Yes,
Does that surcharge and flood? Is that what happens there?
yes, it's just, it becomes overwhelmed. Can't get out fast enough.
So where does that pipe go from there? Do you know?
Goes from the corner of River and Humboldt, it runs down to the corner of Bryant and come back.
Oh, it goes that direction.
Yeah.
Can I answer your question, sir?
Sure.
The problem with that is, it runs down to South Bryant,
Okay.
okay? But there's a pump in the sewer that the village is pumping the water out of the sewer. And it all goes into the floodplain. And for them to add another catch basin up on top, now you got double trouble.
All right, that's what I talked about.
Well, I'll speak when I get my turn after, when they bring up that.
Well, there is options. There's underground detention you can put in, systems that you can put underground that collects the water underground and then dissipates slowly out. There are systems that you can put in for that also. It's a little more expensive though, but there is ways to fix it.
I offered numerous times to give the village of Depew the option. I gave them, I wanted to give them an easement so they could dump it right through my property. I was refused 3 times. I worked for the highway department for 40 years. Every superintendent I worked under refused it. And it still winds up in the floodplain. Figure that one out.
Terry, just for the record too, so you know, the pump that Mr. Kepsky's talking about is actually pumping the sanitary sewer out over there.
Oh, okay. It's not combined, is it, or anything
No.
going down there?
No, there's another issue there that
Okay.
can't figure
So
out.
it's not a pump for the storm, it's for the
No, it's pumping the sanitary.
Okay. Where does Humboldt go in Bryant? Where does that go to? When it gets to that corner, which way does it go? Towards
It
the
runs
creek?
down towards the creek.
The creek,
It does go that way?
yes.
So it kind of sounds like there's pipe sizing problems.
Probably, but if, like I said, if that's parking lot slowed, that's a lot of area there. If we could slow it down there and it acts like it was supposed to be built, then that may,
It's got a lot of.
I don't know if it'd, decrease the entire thing, but it would probably help.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, we're making a record here, and a poor employee of the building department's gonna have to type up what everyone says. I'm all for discourse and problem solving, but you can have a discussion off the record and solve these things to save our
Agreed.
building department some time.
With that, a motion would be in order.
I
Again,
member,
this is for, do you have something else, Mr. Bennett?
Nope, I'm fine.
This is just for the auto repair special use permit.
I, Member Matuzak, make a motion to make a recommendation to the village board to approve the special use permit with the following stipulations. Number 1, the fencing needs to be replaced. Number 2, the lighting issues, they need to install night-friendly skylight lights. Number 3, paving the back lot. Number 4, the handicap parking needs to be moved to in front of the front window instead of by the door. Number 5, the tires need to be moved from next to the building to a fenced area at least 20 feet away from the building.
Is there a second?
Fence in the backyard.
I did fence.
She did mention.
See the fence?
Yeah.
What about the catch basins for any chemical runoffs in the manholes?
I thought that's the next one.
When
Is
you
that-
mentioned,
is that
It's-
both?
It could be both, depending on.
Okay. I
you
second.
mentioned the gravel, are you talking about the gravel parking lot back here? Is that the spot that you're talking about for
Yes.
paving?
So you have an option there.
Hang on, there's a
Hang on.
motion on the floor in a
We gotta-
second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the gravel lot would be coming up
I just wanted to
Under
clarify.
the-
Well, the option is to not park anything there anymore if it doesn't get approved, or to blacktop it if they decide to park it.
Do you want me to enter that?
Okay, so we have a motion by member Matuzak, seconded by member Federowicz, to make a recommendation to the village board to grant the special use permit for the auto repair shop with stipulations. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Soha?
Yes.
Member Matuzak?
Yes.
Member Federowicz?
Yes.
And Chairman Maciaski?
Yes. 4-4, motion is carried. Okay, we'll move on to the second portion of the property located at 4685 Broadway. Could we have the legal notice, please?
Please take notice that the Village of Depew Planning Board will hold a meeting on Thursday, March 6, 2025, at 7 p.m. Pre-board meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. in the conference room in the council chambers of the Municipal Building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, to consider the application for submission by Metzger Civil Engineering PLLC on behalf of No Limit Towing for the property located at 4685 Broadway, Depew, New York. The following matters to be reviewed. They are requesting the following: to obtain a special use permit to utilize part of the property as an impound lot.
Okay, Mr. Metzger, again, for the record, just state your name and relationship to the project, please.
Yes, my name is Michael Metzger with Metzger Civil Engineering, 8245 Sheridan Drive, Williamsville, New York. With me tonight is my client, Mr. Eric Kornacki. And since it is a new and fresh public hearing, I'll go through a couple of things. As was previously indicated, Mr. Kornacki, Mr. Strickland are share users of the property, the three-quarter acre property that's Zone C2, and Mr. Kornacki operates his towing business from that site. As previously shown on the site plan, or the site layout plan, he does occupy a small portion of the building for his business and a small portion of the site also for his business. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. We're just looking for a special use permit recommendation.
I know we've covered a lot of it so far already. Any questions from the board members? Legal, Sam?
Yeah, I'm just looking through here. I saw you filled out the short environmental assessment form. Did you think we needed to go forward with that, or was it just in the packet?
It was a part of the application, and I thought just on the outside chance it was needed, we did complete it and submit it.
All right, I don't think we need that for this one.
Sounds like conforming use.
We need that. No, I don't think I have anything else.
Code enforcement, Don?
So just the things that we've already discussed in the previous paved area back there. If you just plan on shedding the water to the back parking lot, then I'm going to recommend, because of the additional shedding, to put the restrictors in and also put the catch socks in that we talked about. Okay. There are a lot of vehicles up there, and our village code says 14 days. I know it takes a little longer than that because of title issues and court cases and things like that, but long-term storage of the same vehicle is really not an option. You know, a couple months, and at that point, then it would have to go by one means or another. Policing inside there, keeping it cut and trimmed and clean. Right now, I know it's gravel, you're gonna get weed stuff growing up, but once you pave it, that should alleviate that. But until that gets taken care of, just make sure you keep it cut and clean. We don't want any fires spreading faster than it needs to. Okay?
Yep. I guess I have another question. Going back to what Mr. Kempsky had brought up about moving the vehicles out. If you need to get a vehicle out that requires 7 or 8 other vehicles to get moved. What is the process?
So basically what ends up happening is, how I do it is if it's a vehicle that runs and drives, you know, if it's an impound, that vehicle, I have it where it's accessible to be pulled out. The vehicles that are involved in the accidents, I stage them, you know, if they do happen to run and move on their own, you know what I mean, I have it set up where I don't have to move the dead ones, you know what I mean, or leave them out. Anything that comes out goes back in. You know, it just depends on, you know what I mean, obviously you can't predict the way they're damaged. Like I said, some are immobile, so if I pull it out, it always goes back in. I won't leave it outside of the fenced-in area.
Okay. Do you police that lot for vehicles leaking fluids? And if you do you have pads,
Yeah,
speedy
so
drives,
drip
pigs?
drip cans, I do, just to reassure you with any vehicle that I bring in that either has front end damage or airbag deployment, I disconnect the batteries just for fire issues. That's kind of my protocol with, and then like I said, anything fluid related would, you know, drip pans, but you know how that goes, stuff can,
Oh, exactly.
you know what I mean, it can fly, you know, move around, I mean, I
Right.
try my best, you know what I mean, you know, it just, and a lot of stuff, this isn't to be funny, you know, but when the vehicle is involved in a front end impact with fluids, a lot of fluids are dispersed at the scene.
Well, we know
So
that.
when the vehicles get to point B, you know, yes, there can be some sort of runoff, but it's not in an excessive amount.
Do you police that lot
Yes.
pretty regular, just to double
Yes.
check?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Terry?
So, and looking at your site plan, there's a concrete retaining wall that surrounds that corner right there. Does that have a footing, is it a deep footing there for restricting anything that might catch up to that could spill or something, do you know? What's it look like?
Do you
or-
have any idea what the,
That was there
yeah,
Yeah,
20 years ago.
right?
is it solid, or is it like falling apart, or what's it?
4 by 6 by 8 concrete blocks that are supporting all that.
If I remember correctly, last time I saw it, it looked like it was in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's not leaning over or anything like that.
I'm just concerned, once you do pave the lot, that the grade's there. We don't want anything coming off another property next to it. It's gotta stay within their property. So, I don't know what kind of grading plan you have going
Well,
on there.
as far as on the gravel area that I utilize, the upside to the vehicle sitting there is that we don't really plow inside of it. See what I'm saying? Like inside that area. So if the vehicles get pulled out, I'm just saying that there wouldn't be a disruption, because the vehicles either get moved, I tow them out, or they're driven out. You know what I mean? I don't really have to plow. I don't have to pull vehicles out to plow it. It doesn't get plowed like a regular parking lot would. I mean, I work around the snow. I mean, not to be funny, but it's not plowed like regularly like it would need to be, you know, your actual front parking lot. You know?
Okay.
It sounds like your concern is potential of raising the grade on the inside to the point where there's a flow that goes over the top of the retaining wall?
Yeah, that corner there. I don't know if that's impenetrable or what it is back there. I just don't want, flows coming into this direction here. I don't know where this flow's doing here. Rains and stuff like that.
We wouldn't raise anything above, how tall is the wall?
4 foot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
good sized wall. Looks like retaining
From
wall.
ground to
Yeah.
top?
There's the property next to it, it's probably a good 4 to 6 feet down.
So this is a raised, you're raised up, this part there is lower than you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically what he's saying is if it's gonna be graded, it has to be graded so that it pitches to the paved area that runs down to the back.
That's how it's rated right now anyways.
Okay.
Is that what you're concerned with, Terry? Is that
Yeah,
what I'm
I
understanding?
just don't want you draining off the adjacent property, but I mean, this is holding it here, I'm sure, that wall, plus you're higher.
There's actually a drain pipe on the ones where the house is next to it that actually goes down to the back parking lot.
Okay. All right, as long as it's on your property, where it is.
That's it, Terry?
Yep, yep.
Chief, fire department?
Now that we addressed the tire issue, which is on the Strickland Automotive end of things, worked with you on many accidents here. Pleasure to work with you. and it's always a good working relationship between the fire department and your company. But, you know, it was brought up about electric cars, and fortunately, as I say that, something tonight probably, but we haven't had much experience, unfortunately, with electric cars, but it obviously is an issue, and it's only gonna progress and get worse. What is, I mean, is there any, I mean, how do you treat the electric
So
vehicles?
actually, I just recently purchased it too. There's it's an actual blanket that they utilize. I don't know.
Right, I do know about them, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, I disconnect the battery. Obviously, on an electric vehicle, it's all new, you know what I mean? But I bought the blanket.
You
that
cover
obviously
it?
Yeah, you put over the vehicle.
Yeah, because it doesn't extinguish the fire, but it'll contain the fire to that vehicle.
Yes.
So that it doesn't spread to the
Doesn't spread to
exposures,
other-
until you're able to cool everything down. yeah.
And obviously, I know there's vehicles in the wintertime, you know, that the vehicles get pinned in, like you said, there's, you know, that when they're stale. If I were to have, you know, an electric vehicle, obviously, like I said, I try to make sense, you know, that's why if I pull something out or, you know, pull something out, you know, to manipulate the
Correct,
lot, you know, I do it so that I don't have an issue. That's why, like I said, the disconnecting of the batteries and
Right.
stuff like that. to
So,
prevent
so if there was an electric vehicle in there, you would cover it with a blanket?
Yep.
Okay, obviously, the battery, everything's, as much you can do to disconnect everything, and then.
Correct.
And then it's covered with the blanket as an extra precaution.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Anything else, chief?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Public concerns and comments. Again, could you please come up to the podium? And again, Paul, just for the record, state your name and address again, please.
Paul Kempsky, 39 Humboldt. Can I approach you and show you a picture?
Sure.
As far as cars getting pulled out of there and there's no fluid in them, okay? This is what happens when he has to get a car out. I'll pass my phone out.
Can you,
You see that, you see that fluid there? I'll turn it sideways.
We'll have to get a copy of that to add to the record if you could drop it off tomorrow or the next
You
day.
see all this here? Watch this. You see all that wet spot? You see the snow? It's freezing. The reason that spot's in there, because that's antifreeze coming down the street.
Okay. Paul, can you make sure you send that to Don?
Yeah, I probably can.
Thank you.
Would you like to sit? Yeah. So they bring the wrecks out to get the other cars out.
So where are you showing the antifreeze here?
Well, if you see there's snows there, you see all that wet spot in there?
Oh, okay,
It's all antifreeze.
Okay.
Somebody walking their dog by there and he starts looking it up, the dog's gone.
Is that on the roadside or is that inside
That's
his
on the
life?
roadside.
Okay.
See that wet spot there? Yep. See it there? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm not disputing that he tries to keep it as clean. First of all, I'm not disputing anything about anybody keeping it clean, but I'm concerned about that, okay? We talked about that, he talks about that there's only buildings there, we all know that they're porous, okay? When they pave that lot, it should have some kind of barrier so it can't come out to the street when the cars get pulled out. And then, all this water is gonna go into that parking lot. If it's not maintained, the oil's going down there too. And then, because it's supposed to be a retention pipe. There's supposed to only be a 1-inch pipe coming out of that DI. Now, all of a sudden, you're gonna put a bag in there for oil. It's coming out over the top. It's coming down the street. I'm tired of not being able to use anything. My gutter system on my house, it's not their fault, but that's how much water's down there. And now they want to add all that other water down there. From that side piece now, in front of the parking lot. There's got to be some kind of barrier. They were concerned about the cars being too close to that wall that's built there. What's going to hold it, if there's a car back there, what's going to hold it from going over that wall or seeping through that wall if it's not paved? And it doesn't have a barrier, around it to make it to that DI or whatever they're putting in there. How are you gonna get all that water to that one spot if it ain't paved and it doesn't have a rim around it to force it there?
We could address that in the grading and drainage plan when they submit it.
Thank you.
Any other public concerns or comments? Okay, with that, a motion would be in order.
I, Member Fedowitz, make the motion to make a recommendation to the Village of Depew to accept the special use permit with the following stipulations. Stipulations discussed in the previous motion, plus the controlling of the leaking of the vehicles, blacktopping the lot, check basins for chemicals, policing the lot that the cars aren't there for more than 14 days with consideration. I believe that is all.
And then the grading will have to be
And
addressed.
the grading will have to be addressed on the site plan
Yeah, when they
too.
submit the grading and drainage plan, we'll
Yeah.
address it.
I mean, sorry. Motion, go ahead.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, on a motion by Member Federowicz, seconded by Member Soha, to make a recommendation to the village board to grant the special use permit for the impound lot with numerous stipulations. We have a roll call vote, please.
Member Soha?
Yes.
Member Matuzak?
Yes.
Member Federowicz?
Yes.
And Chairman Maciaski?
Yes, 4-4, motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Obviously, Mr. Metzger, you know you've got a lot of work to do with that, so. Okay, the final item on the agenda is for the property located at 94 Meridian Street. We have the legal notice, please.
Please take notice that the Village of Depew Planning Board will hold a hearing on Thursday, March 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Pre-board meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. in the conference room in the council chambers of the municipal building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York. To consider the application for submission by Ari Goldman of Barclay Damon LLP on behalf of Muslim Community Center of Western New York for the property located at 94 Meridian Street, Depew, New York, 14043. The following matters to be reviewed. They are requesting the following: a special use permit to establish a community building place of worship. Any and all persons interested in such application will be heard at this time.
So for the record, could you state your name and your relationship to the project, please?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Ari Goldberg. I'm the attorney for the project. I work at the law firm of Barclay Damon.
Okay, and could you give us an overview of what you are proposing?
Absolutely. 94 Meridian is a former church site or a place of worship under the town code. The Muslim Community Association has purchased the property and is looking to make it their permanent home for the same purpose. Currently, they're operating under a temporary certificate of occupancy. If anyone had the opportunity to drive down Meridian on the way here or Terrace, they would have seen several cars parked outside. That constitutes one of the highest volume events for the entire community. It is currently the month of Ramadan, which they're celebrating. We've been working with the Code Enforcement Office, who's conducted preliminary inspections of 94 Meridian. That was to determine the occupancy load and therefore the number of parking spaces needed. Also been working with the village attorney's office to see if there's possibility to lease the village-owned triangle of parking next to, I think it's St. Joe's right there.
St. James.
St. James, thank you. So just to, and then put a wrap on it, it is the same use it's always been, just a different faith. And looking to reactivate the building, put it to use for the community. Most of the members of the community association do live within the village of Depew. I've expressed to them the importance of being good neighbors, respecting the amount of cars that might travel to the area to park, perhaps carpooling or walking in the warmer months. But look forward to hearing comments from the board and the public as well.
One of the questions I had in your submittal letter, you said that some services are held from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Yes.
How much noise would those be generating?
None.
None?
It's totally internal.
The building's not air conditioned, correct?
I don't know, Don, do you happen to know that?
I do not.
I
suspect not,
If the
given
windows
its
are open, I mean, it is a residential area. That was the only concern I had. How much noise would come out of that 5 a.m. service, that's all.
I assume it's not that much. That's usually one of the lighter attended services of all. I can confirm with them, get some more information. Also know if the building is air conditioned. Maybe that would resolve that. And if not, we can definitely set some sort of reasonable condition on it to the extent it makes sense for everyone.
Yes, because again, it is mainly a residential area. So
Yeah.
just want to make sure we're not violating noise ordinance or causing any disturbance to the neighboring properties.
Makes sense to me.
Questions from the board?
What kind of lighting is, because just because you got people going at 5 and 6 in the morning, is there adequate lighting for them?
There is street lighting throughout the property or in the area. And then when I was driving by tonight, I saw that they had installed a porch light fronting on the main entrance. And then I think they'll rely on the street lighting as well.
Just for the walkway at the, like in the 5 in the morning, that would be adequate?
I think because they'd be parking on public streets and possibly the village-owned property, they'd be crossing the streets and relying on the street lights.
Gotcha, okay.
Any other questions from board members? Legal, Sam?
Thank you for your patience during the other presentations. We know it was a long meeting. No, it seems like the only concern is parking, and this applicant's been extremely proactive on finding a solution for that. So, nothing from me.
Okay. Code enforcement, Don?
So, just to alleviate some of your concerns, they asked me to come and speak at one of their events, and while I was there, when they pray, they kneel on their carpets, and it's very quiet. As a matter of fact, meditative quiet. When they did speak, it was with a very small speaker system, and you could barely hear them in there, so I don't personally think it's going to cause an issue as far as noise in the morning. They don't sound their horn or whatever it is to the call to prayer. It's all done through cell phones now, they told me. So that won't be an issue. Parking has been a constant here. We've received multiple complaints. One of the things we're going to talk about with the village is to put possibly no parking on, I forget the street there. What is it?
Meridian?
Meridian. The reason why we're going to recommend this to the village board is because when there are cars on both sides, you can't get a emergency response vehicle down there. And we don't want a situation where we can't get a fire truck or an ambulance or a plow truck or
The
anything.
north-south street there?
Yeah.
There's a few streets that
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up when.
You're all coming together at the V, and I saw cars are both parked right at the intersections. It is difficult.
Yeah.
So would it be no parking from that intersection up to their curb cut on Meridian?
We're going to discuss that,
Yeah.
but that will be something that's going to be addressed through the village board.
Okay.
And we are obviously working on the shared parking agreement still with
Depending on the timing of that conversation and how the rest of this special use permit process goes, I think they'd love to be a part of that conversation. Or just,
not a problem.
rope me in, figure it out.
Okay.
I should have mentioned too, and I'll turn it back to you. They are adding, they're proposing through a site plan to add a handicap access parking on their existing curb cut. Because there's nothing currently.
Which does bring me to my next point.
Perfect.
Once I find where I put it. So, on the plan that they submitted to me, they were going to put a switchback ramp for accessibility into the building. You may have to switch to an electric lift elevator instead of that because of the space. When we mapped it out, it did not look like they would be able to put the parking space in there along with the switchback ramp and still meet the minimum requirements for ADA.
Okay.
That's something we could discuss for the permitting process, though.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Okay?
Anything else, Don?
Nope, everything else is good.
Thank you. Terry, anything engineering?
No, this is good, Ari. So Donnie just mentioned that. Oh, perfect. That's a handicap stall there. It just looks like it's tight to go in there. I'm not saying you can't do that, but according to, I don't see the switchback on that site plan there. I do see it on the floor plan per se next to it there. It looks tight, but you may be able to do it. So you may have to put our electronic lift over here for this back door, but or just extend this out further, maybe the ramp. You can get through that. But that's something you can take care of, though. This looks tight, but it can be done probably. There's a shed back there. I don't know what that is, but it can be moved probably.
Yeah, do Do you have does the site plan show the shed being removed?
It just says frame shed. It doesn't say it's being taken away, it just says frame shed, which is kind of like right there.
No, it's still on.
It's right
still
on
on
top
there.
of it.
Yeah, so maybe that could be the way to fit in the switchback or.
You can get, I think you can get around it, it's no problem, but just have a look at it.
Okay.
That it, Terry?
That's it, yeah.
Chief, anything for fire?
So as Don had mentioned a little bit, issue with parking. And I think we kind of figured there was going to be some issues with parking. Even if they get that triangle, I don't know if there's going to be enough spots, depending if they have, like you said, different times, different amount of vehicles. But I've driven down there when there has been larger amounts of people worshiping on site, and they're parking on both sides of Meridian and Westfield and Park Place. And my proposal is going to be to our village to try to get only one side, parking on one side of each one of those three streets, so that we can get avoid any issues getting fire trucks down there if we have to, or an ambulance, and not to mention it's an inconvenience to the residents that live there too a little bit, and getting their vehicles in and out of their driveways, and could maybe, we don't want no accidents or nothing like that either, right? Somebody back into somebody's vehicle or something like that. The streets aren't pretty narrow in that area to begin with. It's pedestrian, it's a residential area, so.
Okay. What's the timeline to figure out what shape that's going to take? Because I think it might influence interactions with the village attorney's office on the lease, or I think it also should be relevant to these proceedings.
I don't know.
Okay.
Honest answer, we'll do our due diligence to try to get it done as quick as possible. In the meantime, they still have their temporary special use, which I can keep extending until we get this ironed out one way or another.
Okay. Thanks for remembering that, because I don't know.
That it, Chief?
Yes.
Thank you.
sir. Thank you.
Any public concerns and comments? Paul? Well, you can come, Paul Walter, come up. Paul, for the record, state your name and address, please.
Paul Walter, 16 Park Place. Just concerned about the parking. We do have the 10 concerts during the summer and stuff like that. Will they be using the park with their ceremonies? Or it's everything inside?
So, no, they won't be using the park for the ceremony. The ceremonies are all done inside, and they are only there several times a day for 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and then they clear out, just enough time to do their prayers and leave. Their busiest month is February, because it is Ramadan. That's their special time of year. And we don't do concerts that time of year, so I think we'll be okay.
No, I'm looking at the whole year.
Sure.
They can, however, request a permit to have one of their ceremonies in the park if they want, just like anyone else could.
I thought maybe you could put time limits on the no parking signs too, but that wouldn't help the fire truck.
No, but in all honesty, that's going to help us also. We have other large events in the park as well, even though sometimes PD does post a lot of times no parking or parking only on this side. But I'm looking for more permanent,
Right.
in regards to the place of worship being there now. It was vacant for quite a long time, and now it's good to have it
Well,
used again.
it used to be a church, and now it's back.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
So the one-side parking would be beneficial and
Correct.
far more than just this.
Yeah, far more than just for 94 Meridian.
Yeah, that
Yes.
makes sense.
Any other public concerns and comments? Paul?
Again, Paul Sprata, 58 Argus. This congregation that is leasing, did they lease or
No,
buy?
they purchased it.
They purchased
Purchased it, all right. Didn't they also, is this the same congregation that bought a place on North Panora?
Yes, they abandoned that project because it was too expensive to bring it into compliance with everything we requested.
Okay, and what's going to happen with that
They're
building?
selling it, I believe.
They're selling it. It's up for sale now?
Well, honestly, they can do whatever they want with it. They just can't, obviously, they're past their zoning. They'd have to go back in front of zoning and everything else to get relief again. But they said that they they're not sure what they're doing with it. They're planning on either selling it or fixing it as a house or something, but it will not be used for that, if that's what you're.
Okay, yeah. That building's in pretty sad shape now.
Yeah.
I don't want it to become a fire hazard.
Part of why we're back here as well is because of the issues with that other property and the way they, for lack of a better words, without really checking with the village like we are now, they started using it. They found, I think, a much better one in 94 Meridian. So hopefully that'll
Yeah.
free them up to do what's right for the Panora Street property.
They did a lot of work on that property too, cleaning that up. They really did.
On Meridian?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, my daughter was gonna buy that long ago. But, and I don't think that building is in,
It's in good shape.
yeah, it's in good shape, but it's not air conditioned. It wasn't 10 years ago.
No, doesn't mean they can't put it in now.
True, true, but I don't know what it is now. Oh, how many are in that congregation?
So they have occupancy for, I believe, 56?
Yes.
The church can hold 56.
56.
But how many are in the congregation that will attend, you know?
I want to say they had 45 when their last conversation. This was at the previous building. But they could have up to 56 legally in this building now.
Okay, I'm just looking at the parking situation there. Okay, I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Could you just come forward, state your name and address, please?
Well, thanks for having me, Matthew Lickfeld. We live at 102 Meridian Street, so we're a new family in the area. We love Depew. Depew's great. We had a couple of choices to move, and one of the reasons we moved to the area was for the park and for the parties in the summertime. I used to host events myself, so it's just such a lovely thing on Thursdays to have everyone get together in the sense of community. I love that faith-based organizations are spreading. I think that's wonderful. For me, I'm here because of the traffic issues. Living at 102, which is just a couple of houses down, I know I've counted over 50 cars, whether that's including the elementary school, where excess parking is going into, or if it's all the way down the street sort of wrapping around. So we've had conversations with neighbors. My next door neighbor, just sort of representing Jim as well in conversations we've had, is just really safety. I know our next door neighbors just had another baby. I myself have a young daughter who's just started running. So with so much car traffic, I know this is a new thing. So it's a little bit like sort of inflammatory for everyone. We're like, whoa, we're used to looking at the park, and now multiple times the day, I almost hit a kid the other day coming down the street, just cutting in front of his car, just because there were so many lines of cars in front of the park. He just walked across the street. And so, his mind's on worship, or my mind's on getting home to my daughter. You don't need an accident happening when everyone's trying to just be happy. So for me, it's just more of a community safety thing. And so I know there's like this sort of assimilation process where they get to know the neighbors and get to know everyone. I unfortunately haven't had a chance to have a conversation with anyone. They're a bit to themselves, which is their right. But again, in terms of a sense of community and sort of a common understanding, I feel like we wouldn't have maybe a problem if everyone was understanding sort of rules of engagement for parking. Because I did have a problem where someone was parked in front of my driveway where I couldn't leave the other day because they were partially blocking my driveway. So that's just really my only concern, is just for everyone's safety. As we are getting younger in the area, we want that park to sort of be bustling, but we don't want it to be a sort of a traffic problem.
And that was one of the items that will be addressed, as code enforcement said, and the fire chief. There is a problem there right now. That has to go through the village board process of okaying no parking on one side. So that process will begin, and that should be posted. You'll have your chance at the village board meeting to voice your concerns about that also. So that is being looked at, definitely.
I guess, yeah, too, with regards to if parking gets restricted down to one side, that might encourage somebody more to try to squeeze into a spot that they really just don't fit in which case somebody's driveway gets partially blocked. I guess that's something we just want to make sure that that's...
So I can have, so they're very accepting their two recommendations and stuff. They've been really good to work with. So I can go there again and have a conversation when they have their meeting and explain about parking in front of people's parking spaces and not trying to squeeze in. I mean, even if they have to walk over a street or something, and park in a different area. But that is a conversation that I will have with them.
Perhaps for consideration is striping in addition to any new no parking signs. Stripe out the parallel spots so that individuals understand this is the spot. It's not in front of this gentleman's driveway. It's triangle width away.
I'll talk to the board about that.
Okay.
Mr. Lickfeld, can you please spell your last name for me?
Yeah, Lickfeld.
And you lived at 102
102, yeah.
Meridian? Thank you.
Any other public concerns and comments? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Peter Florzak. I'm at 97 Litchfield Avenue. I have the old VFW post.
Sir, can you please spell your last name for me?
Yep, Florczak.
And your address one more time?
97 Litchfield.
Thank you.
So we covered the occupancy. What I want to focus a little bit more on is what the notification talked about was place of worship and community building. So as it moves forward into the community center aspect of things, the building occupancy might be 56, but let's say whatever event is running and the community is coming from different areas, how is it going to be monitored in regards to that, which will then affect the parking and affect other things? What happens in my lot, and I'm not here to sound selfish at all about it, you know I have a lot that holds whatever, 10 or 15 cars. I'm always fighting when there's events across the street. I have to go to the Boys and Girls Club and say, I got 5 cars. The other night, I had 6 cars in my lot at 12:30 at night because they were playing basketball. I don't want anybody to get hurt or run into my house or something like that. So we're going to need to at least talk to somebody at the building and say, my lot is not for, overflow parking, because I don't want to have to keep fighting it. And again, I have businesses that I move in and out of all the time that I don't want to have to get.
So do you have a police enforcement sign?
I don't. I used to have a no parking sign, so you tell me what you need.
If you want, I'll give you my card before you leave. You could reach out to me. I could send you the requirements. You could actually post your property, and anyone that's there that's not supposed to be, the police could come and take it out of there.
Okay, great. From a community center aspect, what activities are being planned? Festivals? Are you going to have homeless there? Is it going to be a food pantry where people are coming in or out? Well, I'm asking this gentleman right here.
It's only the worship. I think the community building is just that's a term used within the local zoning code. Doesn't imply community activities.
Okay. From the worship center standpoint, you touched on there's some things that happen at 5 in the morning. What is the day-to-day, just so I know what times do they worship? Is it every day at a certain time? Is it every morning at a certain time? Is it 365 days or 364 days a year? What are the worship sessions?
Do you have that? Where
It's probably in here. Just give me a moment. Let's see if I can pull it out.
I don't believe it's every day. Don, I sent the information earlier. Don's going to try to find
Well, there's been cars there the past, because I've been coming late. There's vehicles all parked 9 or 10 o'clock at night, because I'm walking the dog and they're still leaving. So the past 3 nights there were events.
February is their holiest month.
February into March.
February into March. They do use it quite a bit during this time of year. But as far as I understand, I don't believe it's every day. I thought it was certain days of the week, but I can look into that for you.
It's a general schedule. It depends on the number of people they want or any sort of additional prayer that's required. 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the mornings, 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. in the afternoons. Some evenings around 6 p.m. and some late evenings, 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. That's the general possible schedule. There's no guarantees. They might skip at 5 a.m.
Also, in there it says the most frequent use will occur on a recurring Friday gathering from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Right. And what we were comfortable in, Friday was working because Friday 1 to 3 is not traditionally a time that area is particularly busy.
Sure. How about signage? There's no current signage anywhere in the front of that building. Is there planned signage to go up? Because I know I have a big sign in the front of my building.
What kind of signage?
Is it going to be a church or worship center? Is it going to be a sign telling people this is a worship center, this is not a church?
They haven't applied for anything. Now, they can lawfully apply for a sign, but I think the biggest it could be 100 square feet, or not even 80 square feet.
80.
And again, that's another approval through your office.
It would have to go through my office, and if they wanted something larger, we would have another meeting just like this that you could attend to say yea or nay.
Okay. And any livestock?
No.
No.
Just asking.
No.
And then lastly, in regards to the community center, I know they have to file for a permit and so forth if they want to use something in the park. If there's just, people just want to go and hang out in the park and park, again, my concern is from a community center standpoint, that once people know there's another avenue to go to, that people will just start overflowing this area, not inside the building, but just coming to the building over and over again and not getting a permit to hang out in the park, but there's just 100 people in the park every day.
If people want to use the public park, people will use the public park.
Understand?
Yeah, we can't stop you from that.
I know, but that affects parking and everything else, that's all I'm asking, so.
Well, they haven't said anything. They actually approached us one time to use the park because obviously we wouldn't allow them to use the building yet, just so they could have a meeting about purchasing that building. I don't think it's something that you have to worry about on a regular basis. I didn't get that type of
If I could,
feeling from that.
this gentleman mentioned there's a sort of an assimilation process where people get to understand the neighborhood and the way it works. Part of the assimilation process is understanding that there's a zoning code and there are regulations governing the use of the common areas of this village, the public places of this village, including the streets, and then including the way that the village regulates the uses of its property. They messed up at Panora. Don put them in touch with me, and then together, I'm working with Don to navigate them through this village's regulations. That's why we're here tonight. That's why we're having conversations like this. That's why the fire chief has had an opportunity to respond, the town's outside engineer, the village attorney, this board, Don.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me have a chance to talk.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, appreciate it.
Any other public concerns or comments? Okay, with that, a motion will be in order.
He's looking at you.
I know, I noticed that. I, Member Matuzak, make a motion, make a recommendation to the village board to approve the special use permit. Are we having stipulations about the parking?
At this point, no.
Okay, so,
Discussions.
It's going to be
That's
addressed
it.
by the.
Yeah.
okay,
That'll be addressed by the village board as
Board.
far as how we're
Yep.
going to regulate the parking.
Right.
thanks. And that's it?
Okay, is there a second? On a motion by Member Matuzak, seconded by Member Federowicz to make a recommendation to the village board to grant a special use permit. We have a roll call vote, please.
Member Soha?
Yes.
Member Matuzak?
Yes.
Member Federovich?
Yes.
And Chairman Maciejewski?
Yes, 4-4, motion's carried. Thank you.
Very much. So village board meeting is what date and time, Sam?
Second and fourth Mondays.
Okay. Will it be another public
This
hearing?
won't be on Monday. No,
Yeah, we won't have time to put that.
That's okay.
We'll talk off the record.
Okay. Oh, you made a joke about me.
Okay, with that, we need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Member Soa to adjourn, seconded by Member Federowicz. The meeting is adjourned at 8:39 PM. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Hey, Sam,
That was a
he's
doozy.
good, but he's not you.
Oh, what just happened?
Are you good?
whoa.
Not Sam.
I don't know.
We're not off the direct.
Sure you do.
Make everything.
Okay.
Yeah.